First of all, I would like to thank you, from my point of view, for your participation in this third and last online session and online meeting. In all the interesting things you have heard so far, my contribution focus primarily on the pedagogical part of education and how this can be communicated to ocean literacy. Certain factors play a significant role in the sector of education. But what are those factors? Obviously, the teachers, certainly the students, but also the school environment. All these factors certainly cannot have had the same characteristics throughout the human history. Different periods, for example, and different priorities, different policies have altered the educational context. In this first image, as you can see, we see Raphael's well-known work. It is called The School of Athens for the Italian French Scuola de Atene, with Plato and Aristotle walking in the center of the picture, discussing between each other and surrounded by their students. In this second image, we have a typical classroom of somewhere in Western Europe during the medieval or the Renaissance period. In this third image, we have a typical classroom, a Greek classroom, right after World War II. And in this final picture, we have an image of a modern low-grade classroom. Now, behind these very different images, what is not easily seen are the different approaches that are used. Occasionally, these approaches are inspired by some pedagogical values, some other times not, as it was just a superficial transfer of piece of knowledge from the one that has this knowledge to the others that don't have this knowledge. Speaking of different approaches, we are essentially referring to what we call pedagogical methods or pedagogical strategies or approaches. We can use whatever term we want to, that are more or less successfully used in the field, in several fields, such as environmental education or science. Therefore, these strategies can also be used in the field of ocean literacy, which is the main topic of our online seminar. At this point, we recognize a problem, which is a structural one. We face in the field of teacher training. In most cases, there is a qualitative, as we say, differentiation between teachers who teach in primary education schools and teachers who teach in secondary education schools. This is also the case in Greece, and I believe that this is the case in other countries too. Well, what I mean, and I will be much more precise, is that primary school teachers have been trained to teach a wide range of subjects, linguistics, mathematics, religious affairs, history, science, everything. And therefore, the depth of their knowledge is not expected to be particularly wide. On the contrary, during their training period at the universities, these primary school teachers come across more or less methodological issues of teaching and learning. But this is not the case for the secondary school teachers, who are specialized in specific areas, such as language, mathematics, science, biology, history, religion, etc. But they know almost nothing about these methodological approaches that they could use in their teaching reality at their schools. This is exactly what we attempted, or what we attempt to cover in this seminar. The lack of scientific knowledge in the field of ocean literacy during the first two sessions, and mainly for primary school teachers, and respectively, the lack of pedagogical content knowledge, as we call it, mainly for middle and high school teachers. Therefore, together we will see and describe some of the most important methodological strategies that can be used in the classroom within, of course, the context of environmental education, of science, and consequently ocean literacy. These strategies are characterized as participatory. And the term participatory means that they integrate the active participation of learners in educational practice. They are closely related to what we call in pedagogy critical theory and the theories of cognitive and social constructivism. You see in the pictures, the well-known, at least to the teachers of primary education, Piaget and Vygotsky, from which we have the theories of cognitive and social constructivism. These theories focus not only on the outcome of the teaching practice, but also on the learning process itself. And this is very important for a teacher to know that. On the one hand, we have the learners. They are involved in the educational process, often based on their experiences. This is what we call constructivistic approach. They influence it, they co-shape it, and they build their learning in interaction with other learners and teachers. And this is the social constructivism, the interaction with other learners and teachers. On the other hand, we have the teachers that they have lost or should have lost their basic characteristic that they had for many centuries. What was this characteristic? The transmission of knowledge. In this kind of participatory methods, teachers transform their role from simple transmitters of knowledge to what we call facilitators of learning. In this way, these teaching and learning methods allow all people, adults, youngsters, everybody, to acquire not only knowledge, but skills and values that will enable them to play an active role in a democratic society and participate in what we call a decision-making process. But the fact is this: not all strategies can be used whenever we want to or wherever we want to. Certain factors play a significant role in choosing what strategy or what strategies should be used by the teacher. These factors, for example, are the characteristics of students: different ages, different mental levels, different pre-existing knowledge, different experiences lead the teacher to pick different strategies. Of course, the characteristics of the teacher himself, the degree of his familiarity with the available methods, his perceptions, his interests, knowledge, etc. Of course, the content, the learning objectives, the available time, the mobility capacity, the availability of information sources, etc., has its own role. And at the end, the type of the environment. We cannot use, we don't have to use, we shouldn't use the same strategies if, for example, we were teaching in a school near in the center of a big city or somewhere in a village up in a mountain. Different environments, different kind of approaches. Here is the methods that we are going to say some things about. And I have put them in certain frameworks, in certain frames, such as the framework methods, which is the project method, the problem-solving method, the case study, the methods of values, and the so-called figurative methods, such as the moral dilemma, the role-playing game, the debate, and the forum theater. The mapping and the field methods, such as the concept mapping, community mapping, and the field study. the visualization methods such as the future search conferencing, and the methods of generating ideas and formulating analysis, such as the brainstorming. Before starting describing these methods in some detail, because we don't have the time to go deeper, I guess that some of these methods are well known to many of you. Some of these methods are not that familiar to most of you, and I'm sure that there are some methods that are totally unfamiliar for most of the participants. I would also like to point out that during this presentation, I will provide some examples that can be related to ocean literacy, so that all the participants, all the teachers, and the educators in general could make a picture of how these strategies work and how they could possibly use them. Of course, due to the time, as I said, we don't have the chance to go deeper, but I will give you just a hint. And another thing, before starting presenting these methods, please keep in mind that by the end of this presentation, we will ask you to write down the strategies that you feel you can use when designing and implementing an ocean literacy project. So I would recommend you to make a note, at least of the titles of these methods. That will be helpful to you. Well, let's start with the project method. I believe that this is one of the most familiar methods to most of the teachers in our meeting. It is a term that conveys a multidimensional, dynamic character. It has vague boundaries, and that's why we see so many different titles going with the project, such as cultural project, artistic project, social project, etc. But what we are interested in as educators is the educational project, which refers to a form of teaching and learning. And this is what we call project-based learning. In the pictures, you see those two guys, John Dewey and his student, Kilpatrick, who almost a century ago wrote about the project-based learning. The theoretical basis of this method lies primarily on the principle of learning by doing. And this is very important for all students, from kindergarten to grade 12. There are certain stages that the project method has. The first stage is the initiative. In environmental education or ocean literacy programs, the initiative can derive from many sources: the teachers, the students, the parents, whatever you can imagine. The second stage is actually the exchange of views on this initiative. The students must decide on the project topic, and a common practice regarding this thing is to ask the students in the group to suggest one or more topics. When this phase is completed, students vote on the final choice of the topic, and they begin to discuss in specific didactic hours about this certain topic. The next stage is the joint framework development. Decision must be made about several things. Who will be involved? Which subgroups will be formed? Because we do have a group of people, a group of students working on a certain project, but this group doesn't do anything altogether. They have to divide themselves in subgroups. What will be the obligations, not only of each group, but of each member of the group? What sources of information will be used? What visits will take place and where? Which experts will be invited in the classroom? What activities will be carried out? What will be the pace of work? It has to do with the next one, how long the program will last. Is it going to last some weeks or some months? And what expected to be the outcome, the results of this program? The next stage is the implementation stage, and as you can imagine, this is the biggest in terms of time. And this is the phase where students learn by doing according to the constructivist and cognitive theory of all those pedagogicians from the 20th century. And of course, we have the end of the program. It is usually done when the team assesses what was planned, how, and what was planned has been what was planned has been implemented. Usually, the end of the program coincides with an event in which the environmental group presents the results to an audience. This audience can be the students of the other classrooms or the other grades or the local community. Let's move to the second strategy, which is the problem-solving method. This method was first developed in the middle 1950s and 1960s in medical schools in the USA and Canada. And it was found, and how was developed? It was found that medical students' performance was not satisfactory enough. And it was concluded that the teaching and learning strategies of what we were calling traditional education, based on memorizing fragmented knowledge, did not allow them to cultivate skills such as applying theoretical knowledge in practice, problem solving, self-directed learning, and collaboration. So this man here is Howard Burroughs, the one that thought about the problem-based learning. He proposed this new concept of teaching and learning. And during that period, in 50s, 60s, and 70s, the medical schools around the world used more or less this kind of method. Gradually, this method was applied to other university faculties. And from the early 90s, it began to be applied to basic education. According to this strategy, learning is driven by a problem that takes place in real life. If we don't have a real problem, we will meet this thing, and in other strategies, we invent, we make scenarios of problems. Learning is student-centered, always. It is interdisciplinary. It is collaborative and self-directed, and it is reflective. The problem must be real. It must be authentic. While in case it is not, if, for example, my school and I am working somewhere that there is no environmental problem, then we invent something which must look realistic. It must be complex enough to pose challenges. It doesn't have to be strict. It has to be poorly structured to motivate learners to explore and examine it from many different angles. It has to be open to many possible solutions to stimulate flexible thinking. It must be adapted to the cognitive development of students. And I think that all teachers can understand that. Different problems are applied to different generations, to different ages, to different grades. And this has to do about the cognition, the cognitive development of students. These are the 8 stages of the problem-solving method. In the first stage, we investigate and we identify the problem. In the second stage, we define the goals for solving this problem. In the third stage, we explore alternative solutions. In this stage, brainstorming has to do, we use brainstorming a lot, and I will explain that in an example that I will give you. In the fourth stage, we document criteria for choosing the possible or the most realistic solution or solutions. So after documenting the criteria for choosing the most possible solution, we go to the next stage, which is among the tank of the alternative solutions, we choose the right solution or the right solutions. And then we establish an action plan, we implement it, and at the end, we evaluate the process. Let's give you an example of the problem solving, a very quick example. For the title could be marine pollution from plastics and microplastics. During the first stage, we have the title, we have identified the problem. During the second stage, we actually go to the goals. We define the goals. The goals could be, for example, the students to be able to learn about marine pollution in general and marine pollution from microplastics in particular. The students should be able to learn the origin of this pollution, should be able to learn the procedure of how plastics compartmentalize, that means break into pieces into the environment. Another goal could be the students to be able to learn the consequences of this kind of pollution on sea life and the environment. Or another one could be to be able to sensitize themselves and their peers and their local community. Going down to the alternative solution, by using brainstorming, as I told you before, we can record as many solutions as possible, no matter how feasible these solutions are. And this is very important. We don't care in this stage if this brainstorming comes up with feasible solutions or not. Because in our next stage, where we document certain criteria, we filter the solutions to those feasible ones according to our criteria. For example, we could have the financial criterion and we could have the time criterion. It's not to be time consuming, for example. So going to the choice of the right solutions, of the best and right solutions, we could say that we come up with this, that, and that solution based on that certain criteria. And in the end, we establish, we implement the action, and we evaluate the whole process. Moving on to the next strategy, it is the strategy called case study. The difference between case study and the two strategies we mentioned before is that this one is highly directed by the teacher. This was not the case for problem solving and from project method. It is a presentation to a small group of trainees. The trainees could be students, could be citizens, whatever, of a real or, again, hypothetical problem, to diagnose this certain problem, to propose solutions, and to reach conclusions that can be applied to other similar situations. The rules about using case study method is this story to have a good and engaging story, to be as realistic as possible, even if it is not realistic and it is hypothetical, support educational objectives, to be clear, concise, and understandable, focus on a single problem so that the students won't be confused, contain the appropriate information for the analysis, pick interest, of course, and always pick on interest, avoid any data that it's not useful and disorienting, and for you that you are teachers in low grades, you understand that we have to be as much as concrete and not disorienting, because we have young students in front of us. We have to create empathy with the main characters. I mean, the story has to create empathy with the main characters or the situations, and to refer an issue that is open to many approaches and to many solutions, especially when we are talking about environmental problems or sea-related issues. We don't have just one solution, just like in mathematics, but we have more than one solution. So we should see more these solutions. Now, let's see a very quick example related to the case study method. We could use, for example, a newspaper. I pick here a newspaper about alien species and their invasion in the Mediterranean Sea. You all know that narration is a very powerful tool, especially for teachers. So we could read this article and use it as a triggering event, and then spend some time discussing this with our students, this phenomenon of the alien species entering, for example, in the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, for example, we could discuss the fact that these species are released from the ballast waters of ships. But this is something that it is common all around the globe. What is happening in the Mediterranean and what makes Mediterranean Sea different in terms of the alien species? We have the invasion of alien species through the Suez Channel, and these species have origin from the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. The discussion, for example, could include protection issues for other species, protection issues for human health, because many of these species are dangerous for consumption, and financial issues. This is a case study. Moving on to the next strategy, which is the moral dilemma method. Well, the moral dilemma is a method that more or less focuses on teaching and cultivating values. But values is something very difficult as a sense, as a notion to the teacher. Teachers focus on the cultivation only or mainly of cognitive abilities, strictly knowledge, and how they should be handled in teaching practice, but not values. As a result, many teachers either avoid entering this field or handle situations, let's say, intuitively, without knowing techniques and certain tools that can make their teaching intervention more effective. As you can understand, when we are talking about environmental education, or if we want to be much more modern in our terms, education for sustainability, this kind of methods, which has to do with values, is a very important tool. Along with cultivating knowledge and skills during our environmental education projects, this seeks to develop values that will enable people of all ages, there is no limit regarding age in this thing, to take responsibility for creating and securing a sustainable future. And what is dilemma after all? When we are saying, when we are talking about dilemma, we are referring to a difficult issue involving the choice between usually two equivalent alternatives, neither of which can be considered fully satisfactory to everyone. I will make it somehow simple to you with this example that I have picked. We could create a simple scenario to put our students in a dilemma situation, meaning that they have to make a difficult choice based on certain data. For example, we have heard in local news that a power plant facility, a factory that produces energy, electricity, is about to be built in a nearby coastal zone. All right? But here is the thing. This is the only bay in the region where sustainable use of tourism is taking place. And when I'm talking about sustainable tourism, I mean there is a beautiful beach where we swim during summer. There are clear waters for snorkeling. There are beach bars, taverns, and everything. And here is the dilemma. Do we prefer low prices in electrical bills of our houses since the energy will be produced near us, near our hometown, without having to bring electricity for 1,000 miles away? Or do we prefer higher prices and keep enjoying the scenery? This is the actual and the basic question that will be put to students. The students will be asked this kind of question or questions, and they will have to write down the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages of this installation. And initially in groups, and then go on the plenary session and argue in front of the others or against the others. This is a very interesting task that we give to students when we are using the moral dilemma method. Moving on to the role-playing game. This is something relatively new, I could say. It is an active teaching and learning method. The participants take on the role of other real or, again, imagined persons or groups of people, exposing and supporting their positions around a certain topic. Usually, this issue involves opposing opinions, conflicting positions or dilemmas, while the participants have to come to a certain decision. And I will clarify this to you with a certain example. We have an issue. And what is this issue? There is an installation of a wind farm, offshore wind farm, for the sorry, not wind farm, aquaculture. Aquaculture farm, sorry. The interesting thing in this kind of strategy, let's begin from that point. The interesting thing is that when we give certain roles to our students, that they are against this, their beliefs, and still they have to make their argumentation accordingly. Now, here is the issue. We have a certain facility installation of an extensive aquaculture. By the term extensive, we mean that it is happening offshore, not in the beach, and there is inside cages made from nets. This facility creates some kind of pollution related to the animal feeding. But the thing is that there are beautiful beaches somewhere there that we use during the summertime. So we split our students in several groups, and we give them specific roles. And we provide them a certain amount of time so that they will prepare their argumentation. What are those roles? For example, we could have the aquaculture owner, the business owner. We could have the mayor of the city, fishermen, representatives of an NGO, unemployed people, which is a very important group of people that has a certain argumentation to prepare. We could give a role to some groups regarding let's say, restaurant owners or sports business owners, etc. We give the floor to each group for unfolding actually its arguments. Either they are in favor or, of course, they are against these kind of facilities. We have a first round of argumentation. Depending on the interest that we could see, we could detect during the whole procedure, we could give a second round of argumentation based, of course, upon what they have already heard about the other groups. And maybe in the end, the facilitator, and the facilitator is us, the teachers, the facilitator begins a discussion, wrap up what has been discussed so far, and closes the procedure. This is a very brief example of the role-playing game. The next strategy is the debate. It's not far away from what we have also what we have heard and what we have seen so far. I mean, relating to the role-playing. It is a modern method. It cultivates argumentation, contributes to the development of communication and decision-making skills, but this time it is between two sides, starting from opposite starting points, the one in favor and the other against such issues, and based on well-formulated arguments again. The aim is to convince the audience watching this debate and to bring the audience to their side. A quick example. Here we have this wind farm I had in mind, offshore wind farm for the production of electricity again. We can split our classroom in two groups. The ones that they are in favor of this installation and the others that they are against this installation. Of course, again, we provide our students with adequate time to prepare themselves, enough time to support their argumentation when they will start arguing. In the end, again, the facilitator wraps up and closes the procedure. Now we are moving to the so-called forum theater. I'm not sure that many of us have seen or have heard about this kind of a strategy. It's not a new one, but it's not used frequently, at least in education. It has to do more, I would say, about something that the citizens of a local region is involved. The central idea of the forum theater lies in the interaction between the actors and the spectators, and this is the new thing. The actors and the spectators who gradually take on the role of an actor, I mean the spectators. This is a theatrical play, just like the plays that we have in our minds, but is presented showing a certain problematic situation. And in the field of environmental education and ocean literacy, we have ocean sciences, we have too many problematic situations that we could use. The decisions the protagonist or the protagonists make to deal with the situation are not effective. And these decisions cause them more problems than they try to solve. So the actions of the rest of the characters in the drama do not help to solve them. What is going on? The moderator, there is a moderator, just like in the previous examples. In our case, we have the teacher, urges the viewers to stop it at any time. By saying stop. The scene freezes at that point, and the viewer who requested this interruption will have to either tell the actor how to act differently, or he or she takes his place on stage and implement his own strategy to resolve the conflict. The rest of the actors improvise their reaction to the development, initially trying not to retreat easily, they don't want, I mean, the rest of the actors, they don't want to make the new actor his or her life easy and stick to the original development of the play. If they don't know how to react, the actors can consult the viewers. The coordinator also intervenes in the action by asking questions or making clarifications on the proposals made so far. I have prepared for you a small video that it is an 8-minute video. It is not from the field of ocean literacy or even environmental education. I took it from the YouTube, but it is very near to the school teachers because it has to do with a classroom. The idea that I put this video for you here is to see the philosophy of this strategy. But I think that I have not pressed the button for the voice, Yolanda. Could you please tell me if you can hear anything?
Do you want to stop sharing and share again? What do you think?
You cannot hear the character speaking?
Not really. But Thanos, stop
No.
sharing.
Yes, yes.
And start again. Yes, yes.
Yes. I will do that.
Okay.
What about now?
Weekend, I have the kids.
Yes, we hear.
All right.
Look, I'm late. I'm trying to make breakfast.
It is an 8-minute video.
After what happened last time, you're not welcome here. No, you cannot see them. You're not holding up your end of the agreements. I'm not going to court again. Stop calling. Hey, Mom. Michael, you are so late, and you left a huge mess in the living room. I don't want to hear it. Stop making excuses like your father. Mom, I'm late to work. I just need to. I don't care what you need. I need you to do what I'm telling you to do. Now go clean up that mess, get some breakfast, and get to school. I don't have time for this. Good morning.
What I forgot to tell you is that they leave the play role in the first place, and they begin the play again. And that second round of the play, then the spectators can stop whenever or wherever they want to. The scene is changing. This is the school.
All right, guys. Okay, we're at a big project of our semester, which will be worth 50% of your grade. Okay? It's going to take you 2 weeks to do it, and it can be on either one of these 3 themes. And I have divided the groups into groups of 2. Michael, you and Luke. Delilah, you and Vanessa. Trey, you and Henry. Yes, Michael.
I was just wondering if maybe I could work with Vanessa. We've been thinking about the project and we've got a lot of really good ideas.
No.
But
No.
it would just...
I've already picked the teams. That's the way it is. Life isn't fair. Okay, today we're going to work on our handouts. There's a worksheet in the back of this package. You are to complete those by the class period. So I want everyone to come up and pick up their handout. Let's go. Go and get busy.
I'm not learning anything in this class. Mr. Smith?
Luke, put your feet down, please. Thanks. Okay, we have a test on Tuesday. It's going to be covering the last 3 chapters that we've had in that novel. And you guys are going to have all weekend to get ready for it. Delighted.
Do we have extra credit on this test?
I will, that's possible. I will consider that. Okay, we got all weekend. Okay, Michael.
I was just wondering, Mr. Smith, could I talk to you for a minute?
Just briefly, I'm on my way somewhere.
I was just wondering, I got a C on the last big project. Is there
Okay.
anything I can do to get a better grade next time?
Yeah, there is. You can try reading the material.
I do read the material.
Read a little bit more closely. Read the rubric. It's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. Okay? Don't worry about it. You're doing all right. Don't worry, okay?
Do not come over. Do you understand? No, you cannot see the kids this weekend. I have the kids.
Do we have a stop?
Yeah.
Where is that, Gene? Let's give Gene the first spectator. In traditional theater, you're spectators. In this form of theater, you are spectators. Okay, so you're going to play the mom because you can relate to being a mom.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Hey, not a good time. Let's talk about this later. I got the kids, they need me. Yep. Okay, I'll call you back. We'll talk in 4. Great. Bye.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. I just need to grab my coat from in the kitchen.
Cool. You're running late.
Okay.
So hurry on up, and you're gonna drive your sister to school.
Yeah, I'll drive her to school. I just gotta grab my coat.
Cool. Go get it. And little mess back there.
Yeah, I'll clean it up after school.
Awesome.
What did it take for you to develop a greater ability to set boundaries and become more present?
I've over the years learned how to manage my own stress better, and I've become aware that anxiety is very contagious. So if I'm anxious around my kids, they're going to be anxious too. So I